on iTunes or Stitcher or your platform of choice. So today we're on with TJ Kennedy and I'm going to let him introduce the whole organization, but it is the Public Safety Network. And so TJ, thanks so much for being on with us. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do and how you help people.
Thanks, Reed. I appreciate that. My background's unique in that I started my career in public safety as a firefighter and a paramedic, and actually a state trooper as well. I did those roles for a number of years, about 11 years, before moving over to the technology side of things after working on the Salt Lake Olympics for public safety. That brought me into building technology systems for police, fire, and EMS agencies around the world. I actually moved to Greece for a couple of years, built out all the systems there for the 2004 Olympics. And ended up really getting into the homeland security, public safety side of technology for the past 15 plus years. As part of that, ended up being recruited in to lead the First Responder Network Authority, known as FirstNet, which we created from scratch, the first nationwide public safety broadband network. So think of mission critical broadband for first responders across things such as tablets and smartphones and routers in their ambulances, fire engines, and police cars, and really enabling them to have the same kind of technology that we've all used for the last 10 to 13 years as smartphones and other things became more prolific. After successfully building that network and getting that turned on across the country and getting all of the states to voluntarily opt into that network, I started my own company with a couple of key partners called the Public Safety Network, that were all of us who had worked on the first responder network and getting that stood up in the United States. And since doing that, we've been focused on helping other countries that are looking to build similar networks to FirstNet, as well as really enabling public safety tech startups to be accelerated in this space because it's changing so rapidly. Now that police officers, firefighters, paramedics have access to the cloud, reliable access to the cloud via mission critical and public safety grade broadband, the ability to leverage platforms as a service, to leverage software as a service, to leverage new technologies in novel ways is exploding. And so it's an exciting time.
That is exciting. That's really good stuff. So what was the market opportunity there that made you go from what I'd fair to say the public sector to the private sector, right? What was that spark that made you say, hey, this can be a business, right? I'd like to do this in a little bit different capacity while still helping people in the way you had before.
Sure. I mean, it's very unique in that the fact that FirstNet was created, we changed the way that public safety will communicate probably forever in the United States for the better, but also around the world. It was the first major nationwide network for public safety broadband that was created. It has some very novel capabilities such as priority and preemption and encryption that allow it to secure and also to ensure first responders always get through. So what it did, it disrupted the market massively. And most of the market was based on what we would call narrowband land mobile radio technology. And so it's ripe for massive disruption with firefighters that are coding at 3 o'clock in the morning, creating new applications. It's ripe for paramedics and emergency medical technicians to have unique ways to do telemedicine from the back of an ambulance or the bedside of a patient's home. And so because of that, we wanted to create a company that would really help accelerate these solutions to market, would really help ensure that they get in the hands of first responders and that they're done in an open standard sort of way that continues to drive innovation in the future and drive competition in the future.
That's great. That's fantastic. So tell me about the growth strategy for that business. Obviously, this group and this podcast is centered around growth secrets. Obviously, not all these things are secrets, right? So we want to tell the world, we want to share with this business community about what we're doing to grow our business. So what's your sales and marketing process look like?
So there's a couple of things. One, we actually help some of our startup companies build a direct sales engine that builds on the scale up model of a software as a service platform. And so really having the typical business development reps driving that to the account managers, driving that to the repeat remote demos and turning those into direct sales. We have a mirror operation going on that drives to the channels and the different channels that are available in this market space that can help companies grow quickly. And then lastly, lastly is on the marketing side, it's a huge part of blogs and leveraging social media, leveraging earned media. Some of that's old fashioned, some of that's new, but I think it's key that you really take advantage of that, because especially in our space, when you're working on life-saving technology, it's a very good story. It's something that people want to hear. They want to be a part of that. It feels good. And so I think we have a better than average way of getting earned media, both in social media and traditional channels.
That's great. So you're taking the content route, it sounds like. And so are you going kind of that thought leadership route, talking about stories and talking about your expertise? Or are you going the strict SEO route where you're choosing keyword opportunities and really focusing on those as they relate to your business?
Right now, more on the thought leadership side, but definitely I think as these companies continue to invest in marketing, going down keywords and pay-per-click and other things are definitely good avenues for them. We've seen success with a couple of the key startups and really driving that. Because it is somewhat laser focused, it can also be more affordable because you're not competing against some of the general B2B stuff that's out there.
Mm-hmm. And so you've got an inbound model, looks like. So are they coming in and you have gated content where they're filling out, forms on landing pages, and then you're
Absolutely
engaging them with drip marketing, things like that?
correct. And the great example there is filling out forms on landing pages. People underestimate the massive value of this and the feedback that it gives you on the marketing that you're doing and what's valuable or not. When you tie that to what you're getting from AdWords or other platforms, it gives you a way to really see what's working and what's not working.
Awesome. So have you been able to drill down deep enough to ascertain kind of what your customer acquisition cost is and your cost per lead and all that stuff?
I have to admit, we really haven't been able to get to that level yet. We're still pretty new and driving through this, but it's definitely our goal to get to that next level and really get it down to cost per lead. I will say with a few of our startups, they're driving that because they have one product or they have one specific thing where we can get to that data a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's sometimes that makes it a little bit easier because you can isolate all of your inputs and determine exactly what the ROI is or the return is on that energy if you can't determine the total return on investment. So that's good. Well, that's fantastic. So what practices would you say have been instrumental in being able to grow the business in addition to creating content and generating leads through online channels, but maybe there's some other business building methods that you've been using that other people might be able to borrow from?
For us, one of the things we do a lot is we do public speaking, and we really go out and do a lot of public speaking at public safety and technology conferences. And really it's from both sides. On the technology side, everything from the CES show every year in January, as an example, is a place where we go and we focus on the public safety tech side of the market. On the public safety side, we obviously focus on the technology piece. And so I think for folks out there that are building their own businesses, I think look in your lane, but also look in the complementary lane, just like we are between public safety from one avenue and technology from the other side. Because on both elements of that, for us, we gain new customers, we gain new public exposure, we get more feedback. And those are really critical for us. On a side note, with the most recent coronavirus issues, with a lot of conferences being canceled, this is going to be a true test to our business model because traditionally we can go to a major conference and interact with potentially 300-400 customers. That's not going to happen in some cases as much as it was. And so I think we're going to have to rely more on webinars and video chats and reaching out and being more direct. And in some cases, one-on-one meetings, which are going to be more time intensive than some of those bigger gatherings. And so I think for everybody out there, this is going to be a unique test of how do you modify your business model, in a pandemic versus everyday business.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting situation because it has some shades of 9/11 in terms of the effect that it's having on people. It's creating a lot of fear. It's creating a lot of, obviously the stock market has lost its mind. But it's different in that there's a lot of businesses that can continue to drive forward, right? For my business, for example, your business, it seems like there's nothing necessarily stopping. So we have to try to find creative ways to continue to do that, right? You and I talked before we hit the record button about, working from home. Some of us are able to work from the office. I have a home office set up and have had for years. That's going to be the new reality for people for a long time, which means, content creation, digital marketing, all of these online channels, these virtual channels are going to become very important. And I think you've put yourself in a good position to be able to just capitalize and expand what you're doing instead of having to shift models completely. I worry for those that have put it off and put it off and put it off, and now they're in a position where they're going to have to sink or swim and really dive in to the deep end of digital marketing if they want to continue to push their business forward. So that's a really insightful comment there. So I appreciate that, TJ.
Another thing on that, one of our startups is it's called Secure Communications, and they do secure video teleconference, secure audio calls, secure file exchange, email, text, etc. And that's another example where, traditionally that's been a software as a service, traditional remote sales model, mostly into public safety. They've gotten a lot more interest from corporate with all the things that are happening and a lot more people working from home. So there's an example too, where, sometimes these events can have a positive effect, just incidentally, because so many more people are working from home. They need to have secure ways to work from home, and they need to work, in an encrypted environment, depending upon what kind of business they're in, or what kind of, documents they handle. Think of healthcare and the need to be HIPAA compliant when it comes to the kind of information you're sharing, or think of doctors trying to do telemedicine on platforms like Pulsera and others, that are encrypted and secure, but they need to have the ability to have, solid connectivity. One of our other companies, Alario, does telemedicine connectivity and connectivity for emergency medical services through a mobile hub that has multiple carriers, ensures priority and preemption. These are the kinds of things that I think, even though it hurts to not go to a public safety or technology conference where, 3,000 of your customers may be at. The reality is, if you can leverage the right marketing channels and other media channels to be able to get information out there, I think there's as much demand or more demand sometimes during these events as there is normally.
That's really good insight, TJ. That's absolutely true. I think a lot of businesses that provide those types of services are going to do spectacularly well. And we know this about every economic downturn and every recession. There's always those businesses that are actually primed to perform better when we have some, we'll call it uncertainty in the marketplace and changes in the marketplace. So that's absolutely true. Well, TJ, I want to be sensitive of your schedule and your time. So how can people learn more about you, and how can people find you?
Yeah, really recommend they go to our website, publicsafety.network. It is the full word .network. Some people try to shorten that, and really some of these new domains are different. But because our name is the Public Safety Network, we decided to take advantage of that full .network name. Really important. Also on Twitter, you'll find us out there under both mine at TJ Public Safety, as well as the Public Safety Network. And you'll see that we're very active in social media and sharing what we think is useful information, a lot of education in our particular public safety technology market space, and trying to have that thought leadership to help people who care about helping first responders.
That's great. Well, we'll make sure all those links are in the comment section if you're watching on Facebook Live, guys, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be down in the description, and then in podcast, it'll be in the show notes. So TJ, I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me this morning. I know it's a crazy time, so I appreciate you keeping this open in your schedule. Guys, if you'd like to learn more about the Public Safety Network and all the good things that they're doing, again, those links are going to be available. And if you want to get in touch with TJ, I can certainly facilitate that conversation. So please reach out to me if you'd like to do that. TJ, thanks so much for your time today. Looking forward to our next chat.
Thanks, Reed. Appreciate it very much.